So one of the greatest things about water decks is just how amazing this card is. I mean, you play 3 of her, right? But then again, we also play 3 of this guy in order to search 3 of her, as well as playing 3 of this guy who can search either 3 of her or 3 of this guy. And all in turn, this kind of leads to your combo because he's so important for that one fish guy. And if that's not enough, if you use him and you don't have access to her, you can also use his effect to go ahead and send 3 of this card, which then gets you to 3 more of, let's say, 3 of this card, which then you can use his effect to get back to her onto the field and use her effect to tribute any of these guys to kind of just win. Hi, I hope you're doing well. This is honestly one of those things I really like about this deck, and it's the non-negotiables you play in a 40 card standardized competitive build. Now this is a 40 card competitive standardized build, and I'm going to explain the different card choices, how it's run, how it's played, and exactly why this deck is built the way it is. If you guys want to learn more about Mermail decks, especially moving into 2025, I highly implore you guys to subscribe. You will not regret it. So yes, the sole focus of this deck is getting her onto the field or to at least resolve her effect. Now, if you do not or are unable to resolve her effect, then it doesn't mean your game plan's dead. You can still play the game, build full combo. She just makes your job a whole heck of a lot easier. So for her, we played 3 copies of her. Thank goodness she's relatively cheap. I love her so much. Next, we're playing 3 Nepotisms or Neptivismos. This is just 3 Neptivis, the Atlantean Prince. He used to be the best card in the deck before she came around. We love her more. But what he does is you can send an Atlantean from your deck to the graveyard for cost to search an Atlantean from your deck to your hand. This activates all of your effects, and all of the new cards double as Atlantean Mermails. So you can just add this to your hand, use her effect to blow him up, and then basically go full combo from there. So for that reason, we're running 3 copies of him as well. We're also running 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Teus. Some people will choose to play like 1 copy or 2 copies of him because like what does he do besides search her? And honestly, we want to see her more often, and he's just a card that's really good to just discard whenever you have in your hand, whether it's excess little charmies or not. So I like playing 3 of him. I also like playing 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Pike. This guy's a little bit expensive. I'm hoping he gets reprinted soon because his price tag is just non-justifiable. Even though you kind of do need to play 3 copies of him, he doubles as a means of searching her, as well as just being integral to the Coelacanth combo. I love him. I've always been saying he's a good card, even since 2017, so please love this guy. And then for like the non-searchers, like these guys all start your combos. This is going to be the fuel for your deck. We're going to be running 3 copies of Atlantean Dragoons. This guy is just too pretty not to play the Astro Pack Ultimate Rares. I love them so much. And with that, we're also going to be playing 3 copies of Mermail Shadow Squad. I wish I could have the quarter century rares, but it's just not in my plans for right at this moment. But I'm hoping they kind of fall into my hands soon. What he does is kind of the opposite of Dragoons, whereas this guy searches your Sea Serpents, this guy special summons a Mermail or Atlantean level 4 or lower from your deck, whether that be her, Neptibus, or Pike. He kind of gets the ball rolling. You want to see him in your opening hands like every single game. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're running 3 copies of these guys. That is 18 cards. And basically what that means is the more copies you play of your core integral cards, the higher chance you have of seeing them every single game, one after the other. It ups your consistency, and even though these are once per turn effects, you want to be able to have the most consistent replicatable hands moving forward. That way you can kind of rely on your deck to actually do what it's supposed to do every single game inside and out. Now, beyond the core parts of the deck, which are the non-negotiables, we're going to be playing a couple of one-ofs. Just go ahead and pick these up over at the top here. And those one-ofs are going to be a copy of Mulan Glacia, the Elemental Lord. He is going to be here for all of your hand rip combos. We're also going to be playing 1 copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. We're going to be side decking the other 2 cards. She's just here in case you open it, and you don't want her clogging your hand going second if you lose the die roll. She's much better sided, but you still need her because she's a level 3 tuner, and she's got a lot of places with your synchros to use their effects. Also, if you open her, you win. We're also playing 1 copy of Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Moving forward, you're going to be playing 2 to 3 copies of this guy, probably 2 copies post Suda Mermails, but right now he's really solid at 1, so we're going to be playing just the 1 copy of him. We're also playing the 1 tech card of Ice Jade Rand Adrienne. She's there as an alternative target to Coelacanth if you want to have a means of summoning a level 10 synchro, or just have a card that puts 2 waters on board to link climb. We love her for that. Also, the art's just drop dead gorgeous, so we're playing a copy of her. Now, this is the heart and soul of the deck. If you do open it, you can still use it from your hand. There's a lot of ways of getting him onto the field. Like I said before, He is the easy way of doing your combo that saves you time, especially when this deck is so combo heavy and those combo lines can take a lot of time. He just speeds it up, but no worries if you lose access to him. You can still full combo. This is Mermail Atlanteans. He's just the icing on the cake. And speaking of the icing on the cake, this is the shift combo. I think this is a little bit better than playing the Armored Shark package solely because of just how strong the Synchro package is right now, especially when it comes to having fail safes that are for easy OTKs. That's it for the monsters. You're playing basically a bunch of 3-ofs and then just 6 1-ofs, and they're all searchable. And even if you open these in your hand, because you're only playing 1 copy of each, it's usually not going to cause breaking, and it's going to be a really nice combination of combo starters, extenders, as well as your combo pieces. Now for spell cards, we are actually not playing Mizuchi in this build. We're just playing Triana. This is because Triana is a really good extender. And some people might dislike me about this, but hey, that's what the side deck is for, right? For your good cards that you don't want to open going second, but you definitely want them in your deck going first, especially when it comes to matchup dependent matches. This card is searchable, and this card's also just a really good card to open. So I can't really say anything else about it besides just this is the most important Mermail spell card we have at the moment. For the hand traps, we're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Coming into the spring time early sometimes because of the type of region you live in. She's just a really good card. She stops all searches. We're also playing 3 copies of Mucharmi Fualos. And of course, with the Fualos, we're playing 3 copies of Perulia. You're going to be seeing these a lot. This is very standard. We're also running 3 copies of Dominus Impulse. Yes, there's conflict with Fualos, but typically you're resolving Fualos first. And then after that, you're going to have stuff on the board. But, you know, Impulse is really nice to have. This deck can absolutely use it. And although it doesn't really hurt Ryzeal too much, it does affect a lot of other decks. You're going to want to be playing 3 copies of this as well. And then lastly, for the last 3 cards in the deck, we're playing Infinite and Permanent at 3. You're basically playing 3 copies of every good, solid hand trap this format, as well as 3 copies of every solid water monster, and then just like the 7 1-ofs. So this is probably the most consistent version of Mermail Atlanteans you're ever going to find at the moment. Even if it does make people a little bit unhappy with the types of card choices that aren't being allowed, yes, they're in your side deck, and yes, you can just play 42 cards in main if you really want to play these in your main deck. So let's talk about the extra deck, you know? It's the elephant in the room. Okay, so let's start off with Synchros, all right? We're going to be playing 1 copy of White Aura Porpoise. This is there for your shift combos. You can also summon him off of the Atlantean Xyz monster by using Minstrel plus any other level 3 water. And this is just a level 6 Synchro that kind of, I don't know how to say it, gets you to 2 more level 4 pikes, so we love him for that. We're playing 1 copy of Atlantean Risen Dragite. This is a really solid level 8 Synchro. And 1 copy of level 10 Goaty of the Deep Beyond. This is just a really good card to just clear boards, especially during your opponent's turn using shift, and it's really helpful for getting you to really early OTKs. You're not going to summon him all the time, but he's a really good failsafe. We're also going to be playing for the Xyz monsters 2 copies of Totally Awesome. 3 isn't necessary. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. I've seen some players side this, and you can honestly side it, put in a Kraken, put in a Virtue Dragon or something, but this is kind of what I'm going for right now because I play Virtue Stream in the side deck. We're playing not 1 but 2 copies of Bahamut Shark. And then lastly, for the Xyz monsters, we're playing the 1 copy of Mermail Abyss Gaios. This also desperately needs a reprint. And the 1 copy of Poseidra Abyss, the Atlantean Dragon Lord. It's a pretty solid lineup. The only card I could change is probably the Abyss Dweller and the Goaty of the Deep Beyond. You can kind of work those around for maybe playing like a Kraken or a Virtue Dragon in the extra deck, but you could also be playing a 2nd copy of Gaios. It's really up to your discretion what you want to do with the deck. So let's talk about Link monsters, right? We're playing the 1 copy of Abyss Keeper. This is how you summon Coelacanth if Coelacanth is in your opening hand. It just requires 2 waters. Yeah, you can't link it off, but you're still ending on Double Toad. That's still a very formidable board. We're playing the 1 copy of Coral Anemone. Some people play 2. She's just a really good extender to have. We're also playing 1 copy of Mermail Abyss Alicia. Yeah, some people just don't play her anymore, but I think she's a really good card because if you break going first, let's be honest. You're not breaking going first with this deck because if you're breaking, you're opening cards that hurt your opponent, and the next turn you just win if you open your 1 card combo. So she gets you there. 1 copy of Mermail King Neptibus. He's just kind of there for the protection that he offers as well as link climbing. You're not searching Mizuchi with him, but unless you side Mizuchi, then he becomes a whole lot better. And then lastly, we're playing the one copy of Zealantis. This just happens to be the OCG Ghost Rare, which is why I'm using it in my deck profile. I have a legal copy over here, but I just think this one's a whole lot prettier, which is why I'm playing it. And this is your 15 card extra deck. I think it's really solid. There's a couple of things you could move around, but I'm pretty happy with how this performs, as well as I'm sure dozens of other people. Cool. So let's talk about the side deck. I think this is also very important to include in this type of video. Normally I don't include side decks, but this is just too important based on this type of 40 card hyper competitive build. You're going to want to be side decking those other 2 copies of Deep Sea Minstrel. That way, when you do have the option of going first, you win, and there's no debate about it. She is an auto win button. I'm really upset she doesn't have a foil, but that's okay. We're also going to be playing that one copy of La Virtue Dragon in our side deck. You could put this in the main deck. You can also use this to put Abyss Gaios back in your extra deck, but like, you know, it really depends on your type of playstyle and what Xyz monsters you prefer. You could also be playing Kraken in your extra, or you could be siding it. Mizuchi goes in the side. Virtue Stream goes in the side. Prosperity is limited, so this is a really good card going second, so you can side deck this. White Howling is a really good card to side deck as well, because you play so many waters, this turns off your opponent's spell cards. You could also be playing Triple Tactics Talents as well as Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is a really, really excellent way of getting the cards like Dimensional Barrier and White Howling to just like shut off your opponent's cards. You can also go into different dimension ground and just all of a sudden banish everything. It's a really solid choice. Same goes for like Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler No More. I've already talked about the Talons, but we can also talk about Crossout Designator. You are playing an insane number of hand traps that most other players are playing. So you could theoretically play 3 of this if you're really afraid, but it doesn't really help too much going second, so I don't like it. Droplets is also a good card, and of course Gamma Seal is probably one of the most underrated hand traps in this format, and it's a water type, so like you can use it to discard all of your things. It's a really nice card to have. That's basically it. For the most part, I forget if this card's banned or not. Rivalry goes in, both of those are really good cards. Lancia, I guess, but not really. People might be asking, why are you not playing Abyss Megalo? This is a really good card. You could choose to include it in your deck, you know, take out one of your Teuses or something, put them in there, but like, we're not playing Mizuchi, so. And we're playing the one copy of Minstrel, so. Same goes for guns, same goes for Armored Shark. These are just for different types of tailored builds. Call by the Grave is another good card, same for one, but we have so many ways of going into Prince that I find this guy a little bit redundant. And then lastly, Lead for hand rips, Osha for weird Osha combos, and Diva for, if anybody's still playing Diva, you know, I was kind of hyping her up a lot, but to be honest, I'm still hyping her up. I just don't have QCRs, which is why I'm not playing one in my main deck. But anyways, that is all that I have for today. I hope you guys stay and see my next video.